Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to our channel through literary lens. Vinodji, namaskar.
Namaskar, how are you?
Yeah, Vinodji, wonderful. And as all of our friends are well aware by now, we are meeting after so many days because in between you have been preoccupied with many things. But the most significant thing is that our own Dr Vinod Asudani has been awarded Sahitya Akademi Award 2023 for Sindhi language, which is going to be presented very soon. And so we are very happy, Vinodji, and our channel, we are very privileged to have you with us on this channel. And as always, you enlighten us with your views, your critical thinking. And today also, we are discussing a novella, you should call it. And this is by none other than great Urdu author, Ismat Chugdai.
Yes, Ismat Chugdai occupies a place of prominence in Urdu fiction writers.
Ji.
In fact, she has inspired generations
Yeah.
of fiction writers, and with her style, literary style, with her understanding of human nature, and more appropriately, her understanding of human relationships.
Yes. In the middle of the 20th century, she came to prominence in 40s, and then she went on to influence a generation. As you said, she depicted the middle class Muslim families with all their conflicts and contradictions of modernity, of middle class ethos, as well as feminine sexuality. And she came to world prominence through her story Lihaf. We will discuss it the other day, definitely.
Yes, and she has numerous stories and novels to her credit. An entire socio-cultural milieu of that age becomes real and revitalized in her fiction. When you go through her novel, it is not simply you understand the characters in their isolated personal situations, but you understand them with their references to their immediate social surrounding, their cultural connections, and the way they think, they perceive the life and the world. And that is, I believe, the plus point with any fiction writer.
Definitely. And the peculiarity about Ismat Chugdai is that her characters seem to be locally grounded, situationally grounded. They are embedded in their middle class Muslim family background, but still at the same time they portray the universal human conflicts, universal human tendencies. So they are of the place and out of the place at one and the same time.
And Rajeshji, Ismat Chugdai is very good at aptly using the symbols.
Yeah.
For example, the present novel that we are going to touch
Yeah,
today,
we haven't told our audience which
it is
novel is it.
Jangli Kabhutar.
Jangli Kabhutar, her famous novella. It's a
The
very
wild
small
pigeons.
piece. The wild pigeons, you can call it.
Now, before we shall jump to
Yeah.
discuss the
Yeah.
various aspects of this novel, Rajeshji, I would like you
Yeah.
to throw some light on the significance and the aptness of the title itself.
Yeah.
Why Jangli Kabhutar? Why wild pigeon?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Wild pigeon, Jangli Kabhutar, of course, it's a species of the bird, but habitually it's monogamous. Generally, they mate for life. They are loyal to each other, even when they are separated by the distance. Generally, they don't mate with anybody else for life, and they raise their children.
Now, would you like to say through this symbol,
Yeah.
Jangli Kabhutar, the wild pigeons, she would like to bring into the center of the discussion the relevance of monogamy in the present times, because it is usually well accepted form of marriage in the civilized societies. But we know that how vulnerable the institution of monogamy is.
Well, yes, Vinodji, you have underlined a very significant point. Monogamy is a human-created institution. It's not a natural state of affairs. Nature does not mandate it. We have, even some birds, even elephants and some other species have evolved it because perhaps it is beneficial for the stability of the family and stability of the species as a whole.
Perhaps through the story of Majid and
Abida.
Abida that
Yeah.
we are going to see,
Yeah.
and they are married couple, right?
Yeah.
So how far this monogamy is practiced, and if
Yeah.
if when it is not practiced, or when there are some digressions,
Yeah.
what is the significance of those digressions? Whether these two characters can be termed as Jangli kabutars, wild pigeons, who by and large continue to be monogamous. So these are the central questions
Wonderful.
that we need to
this phrase,
discuss.
Vinodji, your phrase, by and large, continue to be monogamous. Like all other institutions, like all other human-made institutions, monogamy is also by and large beneficial for the individual as well as for the society.
And moreover, the important factor that needs to be taken into discussion, when then digressions occur, when somebody crosses the boundaries
What
of
are
the
the
monogamy,
consequences? Yeah.
under what circumstances he or she does so, whether it's a psychological compulsion or a situational thing, or sometimes socio-economic forces
And then-
impact that thing, and even if sometimes the digressions take place, how long and how deeply they must continue to impact
And
the
what
monogamy.
what are the consequences, and whether those consequences are automatic or they depend on the character of the people involved, the approach of the people involved. Like here in this story, Abid and Majida are happily married.
Yes.
When they marry, Majid is known to be not frivolous, but like all other males, generally a person who goes after women and all, he's famous for that. And Abida likes him for that. But she clarifies in the beginning itself that I cannot be the partner in all such
Here
things, right?
we are reminded when we look at the behavior, right, and even the words of Majid, those old tradition of chivalry.
Yes, chivalry,
Chivalry, because he's a kind of chivalrous character, right?
Correct.
Who's brave, who's cheerful, and who takes to the conversation with the woman. So all these things, remind us of the classical English European characters who were chivalrous.
And in the beginning of the marriage itself, one of the friends of Majid, he plays a practical joke on the couple when he calls and tells Abida that Majid's first wife is delivering a child, so please send him. And Abida takes it very seriously and is troubled by the nightmares.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And here, I believe that here we try to understand this novel at the psychological level. Although the writer does not basically devote herself to the psychological descriptions or the descriptions of unconscious and subconscious, and that in that traditional sense.
It's not a typical psychological novel, but the writer has dwelt into the depths of psychology through actions and
for
through
example,
dialogues.
she brings forth the typical woman psychological response when she learns that fake news, although it's a fake, but for the time being she believes that perhaps Majid must be involved with some other woman who is admitted in the hospital, and perhaps she is giving birth to the child, and this news
she
becomes,
imagines herself to be the first woman, and then so on and so forth. The dreams keep on
any
reoccurring.
woman for that matter is troubled when she comes to know that her husband or partner has some admiration for other women. So it is quite womanly jealous, response of jealousy.
And hereafter, Ismat Chugdai proceeds very meticulously, psychologically as well as situationally. Couple doesn't have the child for 10 years. 10 years pass, the marriage is going good, it's no problem. Suddenly Abida has to go for some family duties to her in-laws, and for 6 months. 6 months is not a small time, Manojji.
Yes, and as by this time we know the temperament of Majid, right? In the absence of his wife Abida, naturally he comes close to one woman whose name is Mona,
and she works in his canteen. And by the time Abida returns, she finds out very subtly from the vanishing things in the house that Majid is involved with Mona, and Mona is pregnant.
Again, Rajeshji, I would like to see this development that you said, vanishing of smaller things like towels and small household things, right? So this vanishing of the things symbolically tell us something is vanishing in their relationship.
Correct. That is the hallmark of a great author. He or she says the things in a subtle manner, and Ismat Chugdai is really master of this.
For example, her house is not wrecked. It continues to be there, but certain things are missing.
And Majid tells her, why didn't you lock the things before you went? That's the thing.
So certain things, certain subtle shades of the relationship
Yeah.
are disappearing. They are vanishing.
And next time when she goes after 2 years, again he tells her that you lock the things. She says, I will lock the things, but where will I lock you?
And Abida comes to understand that
Yeah.
Majid has a relationship with Mona.
And Mona is pregnant.
And pregnant.
Yeah.
So she's very much now aware.
First of all,
the-
she is disturbed naturally, like
Yes.
any other woman.
So here, monogamy is punctured. Punctured, right? I say punctured.
Yeah.
It's not completely gone because
Yeah.
they continue to be man
Definitely.
and wife.
Afterwards, also for a couple of years, they are together. But then the subtle erosion of mutual love, commitment, whatever you can call it, that is beautifully portrayed by Ismat Chugdai.
Now here, this Abida could have ended the relationship.
Yeah.
She could have sought a divorce, or she could have been wild. She could have been very angry with Majid. She could have punished him.
She could have thrown temper tantrums.
Yes.
And she could have been very difficult to get along. But none of this.
None of this. And surprisingly enough, she begins to nurture
Yeah.
Mona and the unborn child.
She visits her and she provides for her stay, for her money, and she supports her in all the possible. She even goes and stays with her in Pune.
At the surface, readers may be surprised that how woman can give such a response, how she can nurture, how she can take care of the other woman who has been involved with her husband and who is pregnant with the child from her own husband.
But here we must understand the psychological nuances, Vinodji, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Author doesn't tell us what she thinks, but she tells what she does, right? Why she does it. Now, one can imagine definitely that by this time she comes to realize that it is she who can't bear the child. Majid is fertile.
Yes,
Therefore,
he's a
Mona-
man. He's
yeah.
a perfect man. He has, capacity.
Until now,
to-
she may have had the illusion that who knows why the child is not there, maybe. But now she is crystal clear.
So somewhere, right, at the subtle psychological level, perhaps she knows that it is the fault lies her when there is no child in their marriage.
And maybe she imagines Mona to be a surrogate, to use the modern terminology.
Yes.
And she says to her that after the birth, please give the child to me. I will raise the child. We will raise the child.
And more than this, Rajesh, how I look at this, very peculiar situation.
Mhm.
Now, Abida otherwise is a culture,
Yes.
refined
Yes.
woman. The only thing that she does not have, that she is not able to become mother, or that she cannot simply have the child.
Yeah.
That is the problem with her. Now, Mona, when she compared to Abida, stands nowhere in
Nowhere.
these
And
qualities.
even
Right?
Majid tells her that she is nowhere. Just I was physically attracted towards her because you were absent for 6 months.
So in Mona, there is capacity to become mother. That is her worth.
Yeah.
That is her quality, and that is precisely what Abida lacks. Now here, although Mona and Abida continue to be two separate women, two separate characters.
Yeah.
But at the psychological level, Abida integrates Mona with herself, as if Mona is not a separate character, but it is the missing part of Abida, that is the motherhood, the aspect of motherhood, which is missing in her.
Motherhood.
Now, by taking her to in her own folds, she in a way integrates Mona with her, and now Abida, with of course Mona's capacity to become a mother, becomes a full woman.
Full woman, and it's a classical situation of want but can't, Vinodji, what I have been emphasizing in the disability discourse.
Yes.
So here Abida can't become mother biologically, but Mona can, and so instead of getting confrontational, Abida adopts Mona as if and tells her that after the child is born, I and Majid will bring up the child, you please give it to us. Till this point, the integration is explicit. Even Majid knows all this. But afterwards, when the child
Mona
is
refuses
born,
to hand over the child to Abida, but here affection of Abida for Mona and child doesn't end.
No.
She continues to
It
supply
becomes,
the things.
I will say, underground, subtle.
Yes.
Now Majid doesn't know what Abida is doing, but she is continuing the same thing, even though Mona has refused to hand over the child. From here, even Majid doesn't know what Abida is doing. She continues to support by 300 rupees every month or 500 rupees. It was a big sum at that time. And then this relation of Abida and Majid also suffers in a way that from here on, Majid is totally let down, I should say, because instead of getting punished for his mistake, instead of getting that thing, what he is receiving, first it was the positive response from Abida, but now that positive response is being carried to the extreme, I would say. Right carried to the extreme becomes wrong.
Exactly. And now the another theme that surfaces in this novel, it is a theme of motherhood.
Yeah. And that is
Abida,
all pervading theme, I should say.
yes, Abida is related to Majid, and when she is not able to, when she cannot become mother, right? And she has got a child, of course, of Majid, but via Mona. And by integrating Mona, by accepting Mona in a way, she somehow gives a message that she also accepts the child, and she would be legally mother of that child, because at the end of the story, basically Mona hands over that child to
I
Abida.
would say that Abida becomes the mother personified, motherhood personified. She is the mother to that little child. She wants to be the mother. She is even mother to Mona. She nurtures her. She tends to her in her delivery and even afterwards. And she becomes mother to Majid as well when he falls ill, or even before that. Even while making love, they can't make love like husband and wife. So when he falls ill, she nurtures him back to health, and she becomes mother, so much so that I would say instead of mothering, she becomes smothering.
Yeah, but one thing is again emphasized in this novel,
Yeah.
that the maternal instinct in woman is even more powerful than the feelings of love and romance.
Correct. Yes. And if we look at all this from Majid's perspective, Vinodji, he is a Jangli kabhutar. He is monogamous, but he goes out of the monogamy maybe situationally and exceptionally, and he admits it. He says it was just the physical lust, nothing else. But then, if we look deeper into it, he can't be the father through Abida, but he can be father through Mona. So somehow this force of life, this life force has moved him. And again he tries to visit Mona when Abida goes away again for maybe 6 months, but he goes to the door and he falls into the mud and returns totally ill. So this is the conflict of Majid in his heart. There is raging conflict that monogamy is okay, Abida is fine, everything is fine, but still that lure, that attraction, not physically, he calls it pure physical attraction, but somewhere it is for the child also, even though he doesn't admit it, neither does the author admit, nor does any other character in the novel admit it.
Now, here I would like to interpret in a very peculiar manner.
Yeah.
When Abida is absent
Yeah.
for 6 months or so,
Twice,
right?
Yeah.
And it is here that Majid gets a chance to be intimate
Yes.
with Mona, and he knows if she becomes pregnant, there will be child, and somehow, although unintentionally or unknowingly, he must be knowing that Abida desires a child,
Yes.
and child is not coming to their fate, right?
Yeah.
And through Mona it is possible. So although he understands that it is a physical attraction towards Mona, but at the deeper level perhaps it is an attempt on the part of Majid to give happiness to his wife Abida. Why?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
cannot happen.
Of course it is. And when Abida also realizes it, she tries to adopt the child, but Mona refuses to give. Had Mona given the child, the novel would have ended there itself happily.
And very often we have eulogized motherhood
Yeah,
or
yeah.
motherly instinct. We have not paid attention to the fatherhood
Yes.
or fatherly instincts, because at the deeper level, at the unconscious level, even man wants to be a father. He wants to have his own creation, his own image in the form of children. So it is perhaps that these fatherly instinct that must have driven Majid to be intimate with Mona. Why we should take, Rajeshji, with all the responsibility I am saying, and I want your take over this, that why we always describe man's attraction to the woman only as the male sexuality, not something more than that fatherly instinct.
Definitely. There is difference between male sexuality and female sexuality.
That is
I
different.
know, we
Yes,
admit it.
yes.
But male sexuality is not purely lustful. It's not purely the body and body. maybe the desire to be the father, desire to propagate one's genes. Of course, evolutionary biology recognizes it. But here also, the behavior of Majid, I think it is because he admits that Mona doesn't attract him, but perhaps Mona became the receptacle
Yes.
for him to be the father, and therefore he was drawn to her.
Exactly.
Perhaps.
And because he was not sexually starved as such.
No, he was
Abida
not.
was with him for a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
long time, for
Yeah.
years together.
Yeah.
So simply we cannot say that his attraction to Mona is the result of the sexual
No.
starvation that he was suffering from.
No. And then after that, when Abida, of course, the dominant character in this novel is Abida, Vinodji.
Yes.
So when she says that Majid should get married to Mona, because she gives a very sound logic, very evolutionary logic, combining evolutionary biology and sociology. She says that I can't have the child, and Mona has not given me the child also. So I am not the mother. So my generation will end here. But your generation, through Mona, you have the child. It will continue forever and ever. So it is in the fitness of the things that you and Mona get married and I go out of your life. And she presses him to get it, and she sends him actually to Mona. He goes to Mona. But Mona ultimately submits everything to Abida, because Abida has helped her all the while, and now it is Abida who can. She says, I will come to Abida and seek her advice. If she says, I will do it, otherwise not. And this collapses Majid. He is totally destroyed in a way. He says that Abida is everything. Without Abida, Majid is nothing, zero. So he literally, Vinodji, he collapses and dies before Abida.
Now, here two important themes
Yeah.
emerge.
Yeah.
Number one, the role of economics in the relationship.
Yes.
Because Abida provides the needs, all the supplies of Mona as well as of the child, because Mona happens to be,
Though in the name of Majid, she
yes,
sends
of
the
course,
money.
but she happens to be a poor woman,
Yeah.
and therefore she is rendered incapable of taking her independent decision whether she is going to accept Majid's proposal or not. So here, although very often when we talk about love and romance, when we talk of man-woman relationship, we simply overlook the role of economics, but it does exist.
Definitely.
And she continues to provide all the needs of Mona, and therefore she is in a way robbed of her independence to make a decision. So in any relationship, take it that the role of economics, the role of the resources simply cannot be overlooked.
And
This is one
second thing is that relation of Majid and Abida, Vinodji, do you think that if the child is not there, children are not there, any marital relationship is barren, devoid of any?
Again, at least Ismat Chugdai seems to believe that any man and woman relationship is fruitful provided there is a child. Now, how this is child to be begotten, even in the way it has happened in this novel, right? A child comes to Abida in a very, very unimaginable situations,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So perhaps novelists want to suggest that the relationship continues to be hollow, it continues to be incomplete till the cementing factor is provided by the child. Child has to be there. Either it comes out of the man-woman relationship, or it can come by the digression in the monogamy. That also provides a kind of roundedness to the relationship.
Even though largely it may be true even in the common parlance, but I have a slightly different take on this, Vinodji. Here I take the child to be the symbolic, any shared symbolic activity which has an existence of its own can cement two people together. Even husband and wife can be cemented together, maybe by the biological child, maybe by the adopted child, maybe by the surrogate child, but also by some shared activities, even though they don't have the children.
Because the very birth of the child is the result of the shared activity.
Yeah. So why can't there be other shared activities equally potent? Even though the child is not, it's good to have child, but it's not mandatory to have child.
Because other activities, they are not as powerful,
Perhaps.
Objective correlative as child, so far as this cementing aspect is concerned.
I have a share in Sindhi actually. I would translate it.
Yes.
My share goes like this: कि ततीय थधिय में साथ निभायूं, असां बिन्ही जो बार किथे आ.
Oh.
So that we should be together in sun and the
shower.
dark and shower. But where is our child?
And here, if you permit me to bring in some sociological interpretations.
Ji.
And there are many studies, they clearly point out that many of the marriages would have been ended in divorce,
Yeah.
provided children would not have been
Children
there.
would not. So definitely children are a must, very important. But at the same time, now we should be thinking about any such other activities, shared activities which can cement the people together. Now here at the end I would like your perspective on Abida is a mother personified, I said. Abida manages everything, whatever. She even manages Majid as if Majid does not have exist. Once he has begotten the child with Mona, Majid ceases to exist in my opinion, and Abida takes over the reins entirely, so much so that Majid is even physically he ceases to exist.
No, but that is fine.
Yeah.
And again, this novel lends itself
Ji.
to the feminist interpretation,
Interpretations, yeah.
because the main character is Abida,
Yeah.
and she continues to be dominant throughout the novel. She is the link between the other important characters like Mona and Majid, and she is the controlling factor. She takes all the reins of the life in her hands and directs to very great extent life of Majid as well as Mona. Now, once the child is there, perhaps her attention shifts from Majid to that of a child. But
Yeah,
we
because
must
she's
remember,
mourning after Majid dies.
Yes.
She is mourning for 6 months. Then Mona comes and hands over the child because Mona wants to get married.
again,
Yeah.
when she accepts the child after the death of Majid, child represents Majid
Yeah.
in the future.
Yes.
So she is linked to Majid, whether
Yeah.
living or dead.
Dead
So
or alive.
he is there, and without her existence, she may not accept herself to be complete. For example, in Indian culture, right? Earlier, I used to be very critical of the Indian culture, but now I have become critical of the Western culture. Now they would say that the fulfillment of woman comes when she relates herself to the male member. When she is a small daughter, she is known by the name of the father, right?
Yeah.
And when she is young, she is known by the name of husband. And when she is old, she takes dignity in her life in the name of son. So if it really happens, I do not see any wrong in it, because after all, these are very important, close, intimate relationships. And why woman should not take dignity by evoking the name of father, husband and son? What is wrong in that? Rather, this paradigm, that this belief of taking dignity in the name of the male relationship should also be extended to the males. They
That's
should
what.
take dignity.
I said it should happen bilaterally.
Yes, why not?
It should happen bilaterally. Yeah.
They should take dignity. Who is
Mother,
your mother? Who is
sister,
your
wife, daughter.
Right. So I
happen
think
like
that Abida finds psychological as well as social relevance when she knows that this Majid's child would be with her.
Well, then this strong carrier of the life force, as George Bernard Shaw has called, woman is the willing vehicle for the life force. More than the male, it is the female who is the vehicle, and Abida personifies it. This I accept, definitely. But don't you think, Vinodji, she overreaches herself? She, in a way, I would not say, but I'm tempted to say she kills Majid.
Well, because Majid has committed what shall I say, infidelity,
Infidelity,
right?
yeah.
Infidelity, right? And therefore he deserves punishment.
So she is in a conflict whether she should accept it wholeheartedly and whatever she does, but at the internal she is torn between these two. Whether
Yes.
she should react in a typical way, she should admonish Majid, but she doesn't do it.
See, she has not driven him out.
Yeah.
She has not abused him in the worst manner.
And anyway,
But-
that middle class Muslim family, she can't drive him out naturally. She
Exactly,
can't
that's
even
a
seek the
different story,
divorce.
because
Yeah.
novel is situated in
Yeah.
that particular society and the culture,
Yeah.
and that too almost 70-80 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and therefore she takes a subtle way of avenging
Yeah.
on Majid.
It is a revenge.
Yes, it is a revenge.
Yeah,
Definitely, it is a
it is.
revenge, because you are sympathetic to the woman who has a relationship with your husband. So this is
And once she says also, Vinodji,
Yes.
that you will not find such a tactful wife, such a wife who takes care of the lovers of her husband. When
Okay.
she spots that lover of Mona going with another woman,
Okay.
then she comes and tells Majid
Yes.
that you will not find a wife like me who even takes care of such things.
So I think this is a very very important character that has come from the pen of the writer, right? And it is immortal character in the Urdu fiction. And apart from that, the readers must read original novel for the literary flavor, for the style, for the language, for the clarity of the language and the way the language is used, and that conveys the different shades of emotions and meanings from time to time.
And it's different. The writing style of Ismat Chugdai is slightly different in this novel as compared to her other stories and other novels, where sometimes it becomes even dry. But in this novel, the style is very, very lively, and you can't really disengage yourself from this.
So thank you, Rajesh ji, for discussing this celebrated novel of Ismat Chugdai, Jangli Kabhutar, the wild.
And one
Legends.
share comes to my mind.
Oh, yes.
Gulzar Sahab has written.
And by the way, on the behalf of this entire channel, we congratulate Gulzar ji for getting
the
Jnanpith.
And he writes in a filmy song कि बड़ी वफा से निभाई तूने हमारी थोड़ी सी बेवफाई. तो यहाँ बड़ी वफा से बहुत बड़ी वफा से निभा डाली आबिदा ने मस्जिद की बेवफाई.
और बहुत खूबसूरत मोड़ पर आप इस डिस्कशन को ले आए हैं, तो बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका इस नॉवेल पर बात करने के लिए. और जरूर आपके ओपिनियंस, अपने एडवाइस इस चैनल पर शेयर करिएगा. एंड वी प्रॉमिस दैट विल बी बैक वेरी सून विद सम अदर डिस्कशन. टेक केयर.
थैंक यू.